John Wall, Mike Yam with you. The head-to-head this season between the Rockets and the Lakers. Keep in mind, this is a different look for this Los Angeles squad. No Luka, no Austin Reeves to start things out here. So we're going to see a heavy dose of LeBron James being primary option number one, which is candidly not something that we've seen since Luka landed in LA. Houston's a team that's been playing some good basketball down the stretch, winners of 9 of their last 10. So, Darren, I'd love to get your take on this. The other day I was working with Danny Green. He was sitting on the couch. He's part of that Lakers broadcast team. And, when we knew that there were some injuries off air, I said, hey, how do you feel about this squad? And he kind of shrugged and said, it's going to be tough sledding. This is a different Lakers team that started to surge. We started to buy and believe in this team. Is there a path for them to get a win against Houston?
Yes. Why? Because it's LeBron. You never bet against LeBron. You know what I'm saying? I have LeBron trauma. You played against LeBron in the playoffs.
For sure.
Look, you've seen how he's been turning up in the last couple of weeks, right? Just imagine what he is in the playoffs. I mean, you never bet against a guy like LeBron because he is going to be orchestrating the offense and manipulating the defense at a high level, whether it's playmaking or scoring. But look, whenever you have a LeBron James, as we've seen with Steph last night, you always going to have a chance, right? I just think for them, they got to find a way to extend the lead, have a little help from the schedule, guys. And once they have that on their end, anything can happen.
I just think most importantly, he's going to manipulate the game however he wants. But I think the key factor is which team is going to make open threes. Because you're going to have to double team him and force other guys to make shots, and they're going to do the same thing on the other end of Kevin Durant. If those guys, whoever can make those shots for them and open the game up, like you said, and keep it close, you got two great players that can close the game out, but you're going to have to do something defensively because when you watch a regular season matchup, the double team and KD and guys are missing open shots. They're going to need their three-point shooters. Reed Shepherd, Tari Easter got to make shots. Jabari Smith has to play at a high level. But my matchup, and this I'm looking for, is Sagoon. You have to dominate.
I was just about to say that.
You have to dominate Ayton in this series. You have to put your foot down. If you're an all-star and an all-NBA guy like we think you are, you have to dominate Ayton to take this series out of the picture.
Even on the flip side, though.
Yeah.
Like DeAndre Ayton can take advantage of that matchup, too, right? Sagoon is going to be they're going to put Sagoon in the pick and roll.
Yeah.
No question, right? But that's going to leave a lot of pocket passes and open 15-footers for DeAndre, which we've seen that he's made before, right? Plenty of times. But, yeah, I'm with you, John. Whoever can play good out of those two is going to really have a chance for their team to win.
Don't we feel better about Houston's supporting cast right now? I mean, just on the floor.
It's 50-50. I mean, I think
it's that close.
Yeah, the only reason why I say that is because the way Thompson has been playing lately, like being more aggressive, more assertive, I like that. But at the times, they might put LeBron on him and be like, I'm sagging off. You know how Bron does it, sitting in the paint. It's like, you got to make me beating jump shots. And this is a different experience from what it was last year. Like, you're protected to win this series with no Austin Reeves and no Luka there. So the pressure is on them. I don't think the pressure's on the Lakers right now because they don't have their two other key pieces. So if Houston don't win this series with those two guys out, they're going to be looking at them like, this is a failed season for y'all.
1,000%. And you remember the last few times that the Lakers played the Rockets, they had shooting woes in that game. I'm talking about the Rockets, right?
Yeah, they shot like 28%.
Yes, they were doubling KD, and it comes down to who's going to make shots other than KD, right? And J.J. Redick is going to come with his own. He's going to be doubling KD, right? It's who's going to step up other than KD for the Rockets in order for them to win the series.
Yeah, KD had some late turnovers in that game, which was much discussed following that loss, Darren, that you're making reference to. By the way, some good news from a Luka perspective. I know he's banged up right now, but Luka and Cade Cunningham, both of those guys actually won their appeals for postseason awards, so they fell just short. Someone's grumbling right now of that 65-game threshold. Now, the NBA and the NBAPA actually agreed to taking into the totality of extenuating circumstances for both of those guys. Collapsed lung for Cade Cunningham. Luka actually missed a couple games, 2 of them because of the birth of his son. What do we make of the ruling? Someone who was kind of grumbling here, John Wall.
Hey, that's very interesting. I mean, I'm happy for you. I mean, it's an opportunity. A lot of guys definitely want to make their in-season awards, All-NBA. I mean, case for MVP to get that, Defensive Player of the Year, all those type of things. But I've seen another player get rejected that appealed. And he's only 40 minutes behind Cade Cunningham, who's played 3 more games to him. And he missed significant time at the end of the season for a knee injury. So if you're going to give these guys that benefit, I feel like you got to make that for everybody else. And we had this discussion in the back for a minute. Like, I'm happy for him. I always want to see guys get their awards and make their money. But come on, Anthony Edwards should deserve the same type of appealing if they can get it.
Yeah, like for me, look, I've always been a student of the game, right? And 10 years from now, when you look at the all-NBA players, right? I want to see guys that actually were good in that season, right? I don't want to see anybody else other than that. Like Luka was an MVP candidate at one point during the season, and so was Cade. They have every right to be eligible for the awards, and I'm with you, John. I think Anthony Edwards should be eligible too as well because he has the minutes. But guys, I'm glad they got it right, man. These guys definitely deserve it. I'm glad that the NBAPA and the NBA agreed to this, and we got to figure out a better strategic strategy for guys moving forward for this rule because, you know, like you said, we can't have anybody else making the All-NBA. No disrespect to anybody else, but Luka and Cade deserve to make it.
Yeah, and you look at that, Anthony Edwards is another guy that's going to be second team or third team if he's eligible. And like you said, you don't want, not saying the other guys are not good, but you want your best 15 players. Like, no matter position, your best 15 players to be All-NBA. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you bring that up because I think from a macro standpoint, if you're just sort of scrolling on social media and you see the news here, you go, oh, okay, Luka's in that conversation. Cade's in that conversation for MVP. But I think the All-NBA aspect of this is really important because you mentioned this to me off air, like, hey, there's cash there. But at the end of the day, I mean, Anthony Edwards is on the short list, top 3, top 4 most dominant scorers that we have in the league.
And these guys want to play.
Yes.
We've seen Ant go down with an injury and get right back up and then say, hey, I want to be able to play in that game. Cade the same way. Luka, we've seen him laboring with injuries. I can understand if there's guys that don't want to play, but these guys want to be out there for their team to win.
Yeah, just once again, it's just something to assess here. Still to come here, we'll actually make reference to Anthony Edwards' squad, the Minnesota Timberwolves, an opportunity in...
A number of times you've seen Denver over the last few years. Would you call it a rivalry at this point between you and Denver?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't think there's anything else to call it but a rivalry. Yeah.
Is that good for the league? You don't see a lot of rivals in the league anymore. Do you think that's good for the league?
I think it's a lot of rivalries in the league now.
So?
Yeah, for sure. I think me and Denver is one of them.
By the way, I like how he said that. Me and Denver is one of those rivalries.
Let's go.
There's some history between these squads.
Yeah.
2023 first round, Denver actually took out Minnesota. 2024 conference semis, Minnesota was able to best the Denver Nuggets. He's not at 100%. We know that because of the knee injury. And yet, maybe that's irrelevant because just listening to you guys in our green room talk about this Nugget squad, the confidence level that you guys have in this team is really high. What is the recipe for Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves to pull off what would be an upset for you guys?
Well, I feel like everybody has to play. We know what Ant-Man gonna do. Like, he takes this very serious. He's one of the few players I feel like can play any era. The way he can piece on both ends of the floor, can shoot the three, get downhill, clutch jeans, all that. But I think for them, the key piece for me is gonna be Julius Randle. Like, he has to dominate this matchup against Aaron Gordon. I think that's the key for them because he's a guy that when he's going, Ant gets to going, everybody else gets to going, and he's a key piece for them because a lot of times they're going to go small ball with Nas Reed and Julius Randle out there. And those two spaces, the floor, and it kind of put Jokic in a tough bind where he's trapping Ant-Man. You got two guys that can create shots for themselves and also knock down shots. So Julius Randle is my key for Minnesota to get past the Nuggets.
Yeah, like for me, look, I have Nuggets winning this series, and I have Nuggets advancing very far into the postseason run. But
you got him in the finals.
I got him in the finals, but Anthony Edwards is the wild card to all this because it just seems like he relishes these moments against other superstar players. When you talk about playing against Steph, you know, he wants to knock Steph out. LeBron, he wants to knock him out. And he wants to do the same thing to Joker, and he's done this before, right? So, like, Anthony Edwards trumps everything. I think Nuggets do have a good team. The thing that I like with the Nuggets this offseason is they got a bunch of wing players that can kind of contain Anthony Edwards, not stop him.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Cameron
Johnson
and Payne Watson, Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, they have guys that can kind of contain Anthony Edwards and kind of slow him down. And that's why I like the Nuggets, and Payne Watson is having an unbelievable year. So, but I like what the Nuggets have personnel-wise.
So is Jamal Murray as well. This team and this roster is loaded. Explain to me, is it just roster construction? Is it playoff experience? Is it Joker? Maybe it's answer D, all of the above as to why you guys like
go
them?
all of the above, but number one is you got Jokic. You hear me? You got the best player in the league to me, in my opinion, and can control the game in any aspect. If I want to get you 40, I'll get you 40. If I want to get you 20 assists, I'll get you 20 assists.
Yep.
And he plays the game the right way. But most importantly, I think all those other guys, like you said, Cameron Johnson, Peyton Watson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, all those guys understand they're going to get a lot of open shots. They know when to cut back door, do those little things. But I think most importantly, the depth they added to their bench.
Yeah.
Valanciunas, they got help. So now when Jokic sits down, they're not going -15, -20 when he's off the floor. So I think those are key pieces that help the Nuggets go further.
And that's big, though, right?
Yeah.
For a superstar like Joker to have depth to make a deep run, you need a depth team that, Denver Nuggets. And you mentioned Bruce Brown. Like, he's a guy that can come into the game and change the game with his defense, right? Tim Hardaway, right? He's another shooter that plays really well off of Joker. But, look, the key is going to be how well does the wing of Denver contain Anthony Edwards? And I love what they have. And, Christian Braun did a great job on James Harden last year in the postseason. He came out in his coming out party. But you're going to see guys like Payne Watson, Aaron Gordon, who does an unbelievable job defensively, being able to move the needle a little bit defensively for Denver Nuggets.
You know what's wild here is I'm listening to both you guys talking about this Denver squad. If you looked at the playoff picture, both East and West, we would have pointed to Oklahoma City and San Antonio. There's a reason why they're sitting at the favorite. And yet, as we assess, this is how good Minnesota is and how good Anthony Edwards is. You're making a case for Minnesota to even win the series. But both you guys, I know, like Denver.
Yeah.
You like Denver no matter who comes out of the Western Conference.
Well, it's always been three teams for me. It's Denver, San Antonio, and OKC. And I feel like Denver gets the edge over San Antonio because, one, they've won it before. They brought a lot of guys back that won it. They have playoff experience. And you got the best player in the world, so you feel like you can win any series.
And they've beaten them head-to-head recently.
My question is, what don't they have?
That's what I'm saying. And then you got to think, their coach got a year under his belt now because he got thrown in the fire last year.
Yep.
So now he has a year of understanding what the playoffs are. You got to think, they took OKC to 7 after even Aaron Gordon got hurt game 6 with a hamstring. So he didn't understand. The coach really just figuring out, like, I was assistant coach. Now all the pressure's on me to get the team ready. I got a whole year under my belt, and they haven't been healthy most of the year. And like you said, all those key pieces, Peyton Watson, all those guys, that's going to be a key because you're never going to stop Anthony Edwards. You just want to try to contain him.
Yeah. There's going to – sorry. You got one.
Well, I was going to say, look, besides the Spurs that feel like they can be OKC, Denver feels like they have a chance to be OKC, right?
Yeah.
They're not afraid of OKC because of the depth that they have.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And that conversation on Denver, San Antonio, Denver, OKC, that's going to be... I'm back here on the Association along with Darren Collison and John Wall. Mike Yam with you. The head-to-head matchups this season, even between the Celtics and the 76ers, should be noted here. This is a Boston team, though, that has been surging since the return of Jason Tatum. And I feel like every time we do a fresh edition of the Association, Celtics are a topic of conversation. It feels like no matter who's sitting on the couch, there's all these positive vibes around this squad. You certainly can understand why. You guys were talking about this in the break, and I think you actually turned to Darren and said, damn, like, how's Jason Tatum look this good coming off of the injury? What's the most remarkable thing about what you've seen and how this season has evolved for Boston? Because both of you guys like this team coming out of the Eastern Conference.
Well, for one, I haven't talked to Darren about it, but he's probably in the same category as most of us. We thought they was going to be a playing team. I never thought to them be a top 2, top 3 team in the East. But this also got to give a lot of credit to Joe Mazzulla. Derek White, he stepped up in the role, Peyton Pritchard. But also this guy here, Jaylen Brown. We all criticized and always didn't know, could he really be a number 1 option? Like, he was a great number 2, but he's proven I can lead a team on my own. I can do it on both ends of the floor. So that's why Jason Tatum even thought about coming back, because the work that Jaylen Brown did, the rest of the guys on the team, and getting them to number 2 in the East. And they like, okay, we got a chance to win the East and also get back to the finals again.
Yeah, and it's more credit to Jaylen Brown, right? Coming into this season, I think Jaylen Brown took it upon himself and was like, I want to see us get far and put the team on my shoulders, right? Normally, players would have just gave in. Look, this is just a rebuilding year. We're just going to pack it in. But that wasn't the case with Jaylen Brown. And averaging 28 points, but being the best defender, too, on the best player on the other team is pretty remarkable. And then Jason Tatum comes back after an Achilles injury, averaging 21 points and 10 rebounds off an Achilles injury. Just shows who this team has been in the last few years or so.
How difficult is it from a Boston perspective to look at the 76ers team? Because it's one thing in the regular season. Nick Nurse is throwing out different lineup after different lineup. Is Embiid playing? Is he not playing? Paul George out of the lineup. It almost feels like from a scouting report, it's really difficult to try to know and understand what you're going to get here. Is that to their advantage right now, Philly?
Not really. Boston's been in every situation. They already know, like, if Embiid comes back, we know we have to deal with. But at the same time, he got to worry about guarding on the other end. And Embiid's been doing what he does on the offensive end, but the defensive end is where it scares me with Boston. They move the ball so much. They're going to put him in a lot of pick and rolls. And he's going to have to rotate because it's a lot of spacing out there. Like, if they go small with Vooch, he has to be able to guard on the perimeter and move around. So Boston's a team that's like, we got where we wanted to be. We just worried about going out there and competing and doing what we're supposed to do. We're not worried about who we got to go against.
Yeah, this is why you develop chemistry and cohesiveness during the regular season, right? You look at a team like Boston Celtics, right? They didn't lose any beat when Jason Tatum got there, right? Because most of their players been consistently in the lineup. They kind of have an idea when Jason Tatum gets back in the lineup where I'm going to be on the court, on the floor, right? When Embiid is in and out the lineup, it's very hard for Maxey to fit his game in. And there's no disrespect or slide to Embiid, right? But it's very hard for anybody, any coach to coach a team when your player is in and out the lineup and you can't have that cohesiveness. And that's going to be the difference. And I want to say this, people made a big deal of the 2 seed, right? And Boston getting home court advantage. To me, that's going to be a difference maker right now through this postseason. And that's why I have Boston going far, because they have that home court advantage. And it's going to show up against the Knicks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about. I thought there was a little bit of buzz around this Atlanta squad. We'll talk more about that matchup between the ATL and New York. But I'm glad, at least for time of the year. We have March Madness. You get these epic comebacks, critical moments, the whole thing, right? That's happening. And yet, now with the play-in here, we've had a couple of those moments. Danny Avdija delivering 41 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists. His squad is down to Phoenix by 11 points in the fourth quarter, and they figure out a way to get it done. Now they match up against San Antonio here, but take me through what you've seen from Avdija. Is there some magic in Portland as you look against what's limited?
Danny's been amazing. I've watched him a lot since he was with the Wizards, and glad he got the opportunity to really show what he can do over here, make his first All-Star game and do those things. But I think for him, he's another one of those guys that we look at as a forward that can create his own shot, make plays for others, competes on the other end. But he just have a lot of respect from a lot of veterans over there. You got Jeremy Grant, you got Drew Holiday, you have Scoot Henderson who's trying to figure it out. You got the big guy Klinger. They're just a team that's gritty, grimy, but like Drew Holiday said, they love each other, they compete for each other, they just having fun over there. And I give him a lot of credit, and Tiago Splitter, because after all the things that went on, nobody expected the team to be where they are. So even to make the playoffs is great for Portland.
It's a great call.
Yeah, look, I love Danny, but what he does really well and get into that basket, he gonna meet that alien that he gonna see down there at Wemby.
Yeah.
And listen, Wemby is going to be that rim protector all series long, which I think is gonna junk up the game a little bit, and that's gonna kind of catch Portland off guard. But I think more so with Portland, to me, is how impressed I am how they got to this point.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the moves that they made. And like you said, Danny just being most improved, like his inability to kind of score and play make. It's good. But I think this is all about Wemby.
Yeah, meanwhile, another series to put under the microscope right now. The Raptors facing a Cavaliers squad. Now, keep in mind, Toronto actually swept the season series 3-0. I'll tell you why it's not really all that significant if people tell you that it is. Yes, there's only one other team in the Eastern Conference that can say that, and that's Boston. But keep in mind, when Toronto matched up against those dudes, James Harden wasn't playing in those games. Is the makeup of this roster, Darren, in your mind, for Cleveland, that is, good enough to get to a finals?
We're going to see. I'm not sure. The thing for me when I look at Cleveland, and me and John was talking about it, it's not going to be so much James and Donovan Mitchell. It's going to be how well does Evan Mobley play throughout the series. I think Evan Mobley is the key. He has the ability to change the series with his length and his ability to score inside and, cause a little bit, friction defensively. But if Evan Mobley's playing at a high level, I think they have a chance to win this series in 6. But, a lot of it's going to be put on his shoulders, even though Donovan Mitchell and James Harden are the league guards.
Yeah, he's going to have to be phenomenal. He's basically got to be 20 and 10 for me. Donovan Mitchell, we know he's going to go out there and score and get the buckets. They got shooters out there for him. But it's the time we always say this for the playoffs for the Cavs is can Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley play well together? And I think at times one of them going to have to be off the floor. And that kind of helps Toronto sticking to the game plan because now they can match up with them. But if Mobley can dominate Scotty Barnes at the 4, they should easily win this series.
Yeah, huge matchup individually on the floor because I think a lot of people would point at Harden, but I love where your head's at with this. Meanwhile, we got one more series to get. The association, the head-to-head matchup this season between the Hawks and the Knicks. Keep in mind, this was actually a fun game last week. New York won it. Remember, that was that C.J. McCollum half-court heave that actually went in. It just didn't get it off in time, and that would have sent it into overtime. Knicks were able to come out with the win. I feel like this one, Darren, is set up for a whole lot of drama.
Whew. Man, if you're the Knicks, this is probably the worst possible matchup to play against to advance, right, against Boston, right? But to me, it's more so of Atlanta's guards that's be able to contain Jalen Brunson, picking him up full court, wearing him down. I still have the Knicks winning this series, but when you talk about advancing against Boston Celtics, they're going to be worn out by the time they get to that series.
Yeah, you got Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels, Gabe Vincent, Jonathan Kuminga. All those guys you could throw on Jalen Brunson, and he's probably going to get irritated. Because I can go length, I can go small, I can go quicker. I think that's going to help them out a lot. But also, they match up well with them. They can space the floor, they can shoot the three, and they're going to get out in transition.
Look, Cat got to be dominant.
Yes.
This is his series to be dominant. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably going to have a forward guarding him. Big O may guard him sometime, but Karl Anthony Towns has